Hello and welcome to the Utah Rural Summit's virtual symposium series. The Utah Rural Summit has a rich history of convening key stakeholders to discuss and share innovations that have been keeping our rural communities vibrant. This presentation focuses on an important aspect of having a healthy and resilient community. Listen to the gained experience, examples, and leadership. When we come together, share our best, and are willing to support each other, we collectively win. Enjoy participating in this session.
Welcome. I'm Vicki Borns with the Utah Division of Arts and Museums, and I'm so grateful to be here with this wonderful panel, and I'm so glad that you're joining us today. Thank you very much. To start off this session, and we'll be talking about arts and culture and how special it is in our cities and towns throughout Utah. What I would like is to ask each of our panelists to introduce yourself briefly and talk just a little bit about your community so everyone has a sense of what it's like in your city. Could I please start with Mayor Peterman?
Hi, Vicki. Thanks for having us. It's always an honor to be involved in these events. So I'm the mayor of Helper City. It's located approximately 2 hours southeast of Salt Lake City, and it's actually named for the Helper engines used to pull coal trains up the steep Soldier Summit. I have roughly 2,100 citizens, and unfortunately, we were pretty much married to a single economic driver, which was energy-based. So we took a significant hit as a community in the 80s and early 90s, but we're fortunate in that some University of Utah art professors stumbled upon Helper and really began a movement of bringing their students there for workshops and establishing kind of an artist community. So we've been very lucky in that regard. It's a true melting pot. I love Helper. I love the diversity. When you think of the railroading and mining industries, very heavy blue collar, heavy labor. So at the turn of the century, we had 27 languages spoken on our Helper Main Street. So we're very proud of who we are, the history that we have, and really our resilience. We've gotten through hard times in our past, and we believe that we can completely move forward from this pandemic and turn things around just as quickly as we have, as our history has shown to be.
Thank you. Thank you. That was great. Now I'd like to go to Mayor Ney.
Hello, Vicki. I'm excited to be here today. I'm very honored that you would select our town and our situation. We have around 3,500 people that live here. And we are basically an agricultural community, but our best crop is our children. I mean, that's what we always say, is that that's our best crop. But unfortunately, we export too many of them. And so that's been a big thing for our community, is try to find ways to have jobs and things beyond agriculture to have them come back to. We're also a very diverse background community. We used to have a Jewish settlement here. We used to have a lot of Japanese do vegetables. And so we're very we're very tolerant community. And there's a lot of, our people are our best, are wonderful here. So we are very resilient here. In 2007, we were hit with a gas leak that went under our community, closed 10 businesses, shut down a quarter of our community. And we're just a hardy people. And some people would call hard scrabble. We ourselves back up and bounce back up, and you don't have any other choice but to figure out how to make it work. So I'm proud to be the mayor of such a good group of people. And we have a wonderful cultural center in our community called the Casino Star Theater. And it's our show house, and it's been our Main Street for 107 years, and it's still going strong. So,
thank you. Mayor Cox, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your community.
Okay, thanks for the invitation today. I'm Steve Cox. I'm the mayor of Boulder. I'm a retired science teacher, And I live here with my wife, who is the president of the Boulder Arts Council. So together,
Oh,
between
nice.
my science, I was a science teacher, and her love of art, we have a great combination, a great team, I guess, right here in our house. Boulder is in Garfield County. We're located on scenic Byway 12, and we're between Bryce Canyon National Park and Capitol Reef National Park. And we're one of the gateway communities to the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. So we really live in a very beautiful scenic area. We are historically a ranching town, but due to our location, we've certainly become much more of a tourist town over the years. So it's an interesting combination of cultures that come together in Boulder. Our town is around 250 residents. We are bordered on the north by Boulder Mountain, which climbs to 11,000 feet, and then down into the canyons of the Escalante, which most people are at least aware of. And so, again, spectacular area. You know, we've always been a home to art and artists, dating back thousands of years to the indigenous people that were here. You know, we find their beautiful artifacts, their petroglyphs, their pictographs. And so there's always been a rich history of art in our community from then on. We have one small school. It's a K-6 elementary school. We have about 30 students, and then our high school students have to be bused to Escalante, which is a sister community of ours. And it's about 45-minute drive each way. So I guess what makes us resilient is Boulder has always been isolated. We were the last community in the continental United States to get our mail by mule train. And the way things are looking, maybe we'll be the first to add back the mule train to bring us our mail. So that may be our option here in Boulder. But we're very proud of our heritage. We're very proud of our school, which is a central point of any community. And we are very proud of our combination of our rich history and the current artists that live here. It seems like everyone is an artist in Boulder of some type, and it's wonderful. We're also the home of the Anasazi State Park and Museum, which is a wonderful place for people to come and visit and to get a little bit of our history. So that's a little bit about Boulder.
Well, thank you. You've all shared a wonderful sense of your cultural heritage and the diversity of your communities around Utah. So maybe we could get into a few specifics. I think I heard some of these in each of your comments. But Mayor Ney, what would you say are the cultural assets of your community? I think you mentioned one, but what makes it special and unique in your community?
I think anytime that you can have something that your community can be proud of and say, this is part of me and this is who I am, that's really important for people to be able to, especially the youth as they're growing up and trying to identify who they are and where they come from. The Casino Star Theater does that for them. We do a lot of concerts and events there. We've also done a lot of public art edifices throughout our town. Our Sandpitch Dragon, there were so many people involved with that public art piece. It was a mosaic, and everybody broke a tile and created this dragon that when the diesels cross over on the highway, it makes it roars. And so when kids talk about, well, what would you show me if I came into your town? They always say the Sandpitch Dragon, and they say the theater, and then our swimming pool and the park. And of course, our lovely mountains. We have beautiful mountains that people like to enjoy. So those are our assets. But what was your question?
That was my question. That was perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I loved how you just went a little bit deeper into what is special about your community. So Mayor Cox, do you have?
Yeah, I think we're a combination. We have such a beautiful landscape, as I mentioned, of the sandstone up into the aspen forest. I think this area has always been inspiring to artists. So I think our landscape lends itself to people being here and doing art. It really attracts and keeps people here that are artists. We're very lucky because we have a Boulder Arts Council, and they're very active in our community, doing presentations, allowing our artists to display their work, and so on. We don't have a lot of facilities to do that, but we've managed pretty well to use our town park for open air events. We do use the museum, the Anasazi Museum, for presentations, and they have an art gallery. Our community center, we have a small art gallery. So the nice thing that may be coming is we have a private donor that would like to and has been given permission to build a small community theater. One of our things that we really haven't been able to do in Boulder is have performance art as much as we'd like, and so that's going to help us move that along. But our people too are just a wonderful collection of old and new. We don't always agree, but we always seem to come together around art and our school, and I think that's probably typical of a lot of rural communities. That's what draws us together, and that's a wonderful thing for us.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Peterman, you touched on this, but what would you say are the strongest cultural assets? What makes your city so special in terms of arts and culture?
Well, we're home to the Western Mining and Railroad Museum, which is a collection of personal artifacts. It's not a curated museum. It currently covers 4 floors of a building that we expanded. So we're very proud of that. We also are home to the Rio Theater, and we love to have performances, but unfortunately, obviously with COVID this year, it's been very thin. But really what I think has been key for Helper has been the various events that we've been able to host around arts and culture. That includes the Helper Arts Music and Film Festival, which is now 26 years in the making. First Friday events, every first Friday of the month, we close down Main Street and open all the galleries and create events for things of that nature. So I think really those things are very complementary to the natural assets that we have, as well as those museums and local area artists, obviously.
Yeah, so what I've heard is that you all have really specific and unique cultural assets in each of your cities. So maybe you could think about sharing a very specific story, a success story, about how you've used arts and culture, museums, to make a difference in your community, to create a sense of place, or to help with economic development. So I'm going to ask Mayor Cox to start this time.
Well, I'll give you a recent example. Because of the COVID pandemic, like we've heard, it's hard to hold indoor events, art events, which we have in the past. So our Arts Council about 2 weeks ago decided to do an art walk in our town park. And our town park is around 5 acres. So it's a nice park with a lot of grass, a lot of trails, a pavilion. And what they did is ended up inviting 17 different artists to create a station around sort of the perimeter of our park where people could, in the open air, stroll around. They could look at people's art. They could listen to music. We have a lot of musicians. And it was a great outdoor, safe experience. And it allowed people to really see what other residents have been doing with their art. It gave the artists a chance to show off a little bit because many of them are just at home doing their art and don't have a chance right now to do much other than that. And it was a nice event. We had a lot of people attend, and everyone seemed very pleased. We had beautiful weather, and of course, the scenery here is absolutely stunning when you're in the park. And I think it really brought our community maybe a sense of relief that things could get back to normal a little bit. And so they're planning on maybe doing more in our park where those things are possible. So that, that was a great event for us.
Oh, it just sounds lovely. I can just envision it in that environment, and how wonderful that would be to bring people together. And art and music, dance, theater, that's what they do. They bring people together to celebrate. So that sounds great. Mayor Peterman, share a success story.
Sure. Really, I look at our historic Main Street, and that's what I would call our success story. In regards to that, that was a true coming together of artists within the community as well as lay people who developed what I call kind of a positive proximity, meaning the layperson could appreciate what the artist was bringing as well as what the educator was bringing in order to design and build our Main Street. So we went through a process that allowed and incorporated a variety of voices from the community, and then over the course of 9 weekends actually built it. And the pride in doing that is just, you can't, it's intangible, the result of bringing together an artist perspective along with all the other people in the community to really create a place where they can gather that had not existed before. So that's something the whole community has embraced and is so proud of having done together.
It seems like your Main Street has really gone through a revitalization, and it's impacted more than just the arts.
Oh, absolutely. It's a key to the art economic development.
Mm-hmm.
The murals populating our Main Street are amazing. We're just really taking the tools of the artist and using them in ways to really diversify our economic position. And they're in it, there's gains for them as well as gains for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And when they initially arrived, there was some resistance, to the old timers, the coal miners, the railroading people. Now it's a collective agreed upon vision of who we are, what we can be, and moving it forward.
That's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. And I have to admit, I've been so privileged. I've been in each of your cities, and I love it whenever I can go. So, Mayor Nate, tell us about a success story.
I really loved Lenice's story because that's so similar to ours. In 2007, like I said, we had a fuel spill. And when we talk about catastrophes that happened, that was a catastrophe for our community. It really ruined our Main Street and our Main Street businesses. So, but the cool thing about having a catastrophe, it makes change come easier. And so everybody had to come together then and decide what did they want for our community and what did they want for our town. So we did a huge beautification project and planted trees on Main Street and flower boxes. And then what we got out of the deal when TopStop did that to us, they gave us that piece of property, joy. It was a brownfield kind of situation, but we turned lemons into lemonade, and that became our public plaza. And everybody came together, and we built a clock tower with donations from the community and Eccles, bless their hearts. And then we did a legacy wall, and if that wasn't a fun project. And we had some artists help community members, and that whole process of bringing the community together and find that shared vision is such a wonderful process, and really brings ownership from the community to the town, and it makes people proud of where they are and what they're doing. So it was quite an economic builder for us. We don't have a space on Main Street, not many anyway, that are open. They've been filled in and people are trying to make it work. So you know, we think that was a building block for our future. So
Yeah.
see, while not only was a vision of what we think our community is, but we also did a historic review, and you were there, Vicki. It was
Yes, I was there.
going up for our celebration. And anyway, it's a wonderful process. So when things go bad, you can always find the silver lining.
It's true, you can. Well, tell me, how is it used now? Since I haven't been back for a while since the beautiful opening. Tell me, how is it used as a gathering space, or what sort of things are happening there now?
Well, that's something that I think as a city we're trying to identify more and more, but people just stop by and read things. And I see kids coming down Main Street, and they'll gather there and just sit on the benches and watch the cars go by. And it's just a place to, and a lot of people like to, I see pictures on Facebook all the time of kids standing under the clock tower and, you know, waiting for it to chime and
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
great.
So it's a gathering place as far as a place to be on Main Street. Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you say that there is one organization or one building that is the hub for arts and culture in your community? I'll go in the reverse order. May or nay?
Well, it's the Casino Star Theater,
Ah, okay.
the local arts agency, and then on top of that, then it would be the schools. I think
Cool.
they're both that way. We have an incredible music department out to our school, and they do a lot of band events, and the Casino Star Theater picks up on that too. We've made a connection between our music department there and the wonderful Horn School of Music at Snow College, and so
Oh, yeah.
concert every year at our theater for that. And so that's a big one. And we do a lot of concerts and events. And as a local arts agency, we've been the sponsor of the public art. And I have children stop me on the street students at the school on the street and said, I have an idea for your next project, you know.
That's great.
So they're envisioning what they'd like to see for an art project. So it's really fun.
Good. Mayor Cox, what would you say is the organization or hub of your community?
Well, I mentioned the Boulder Arts Council, and they're very active in a lot of ways. They encourage artists to do their work, and then they find a way for them to display it. I guess the nice thing about Boulder is we don't have a central location. We have a number of places that can be used in
Nice.
different ways. So
Yeah.
performance art, maybe the pavilion. If someone wants to put up a show of their art, it might be our community center gallery. And so the Art Council does a great job of tailoring the event, whatever it may be, to the place. The thing that we have lacked that we may be getting hopefully by next year is a winter venue where we can do performance art. So I mentioned that we have approved, our planning commission has approved having a new community education art center, and that will, I guess, fill in the niche that we've lacked a little bit for our local people to have a place to gather in the winter and see some performances and, you know, come together as a community, because in winter it seems a little bit harder in these rural areas to have a place where people can gather and share their work and show off their art, and it's both artistic and social. And you know, my hat's off to our Boulder Arts Council, because they work hard to make sure all the artists have a chance to be in the spotlight at some point, and that it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. So, Mayor Peterman, any particular building or organization that you'd like to acknowledge?
I really just look at our Main Street, and you know, it is overwhelmingly populated with galleries, working studios, that type of thing. So when you think about art, you just kind of head to Main Street, but that actually has filtered out. We've created on our river walkway a place where kids can tag, and we call it Helper Art, Keep It Clean and You'll Be Seen. And that's
Nice.
just turned into a real eye-opening, fun thing that the kids are now really engaged in doing. And that is spilling out into some of our walking tunnels that connect our east and west side of the cities. And a lot of that goes back to schools. I give a shout out to the middle school specifically, as well as the elementary school, for allowing us to engage and let them see artists as an opportunity to have a career if that's something they're interested in having.
Yeah. You know, each of you have spoken about the cultural gems in your cities, and you've talked about the people. And you've talked specifically in the very beginning about resilience. So I'd like to just dig into that resilience piece for just a minute. I'll start with you, Mayor Cox. How has culture, arts, museums allowed your community to be resilient, especially during these challenging times?
Well, I think one thing with having artists is even when you can't gather together socially, maybe, they can still do their art and hope to have someday where they can display it in town. And we very much encourage them. So, you know, Boulder's always had self-sufficient people. We're very isolated. And when they live here and when they move here, they know and they like that's part of the way that we are isolated, and they do have a chance to really get in depth with their work, and I think it makes their lives more enjoyable. It's always fun to come together, but you know, a lot of artists like time to be able to do their work, knowing that sometime they'll have a chance to present it. So I just think knowing that they can do their art and having the idea that eventually they will have a chance to put on a show or an event of some type keeps them motivated and gets us through the hard time. So, you know, I think our people are wonderfully self-sufficient, wonderfully self-motivated, and they find a way to do their art in this beautiful country. And I guess if you get discouraged, you walk out the door and look at where you're at. And that in itself is nice. So.
Yeah, so it sounds like that inner creativity spills out, and everyone realizes they can be creative in some aspect of their life, and that enriches them and helps with their resilience.
I think so.
Okay, very nice. All right. Mayor Peterman, resilience.
Sure. I think when we talk about resilience, it's really not just managing through a crisis or a disruption of life as we might know it, but the ability to see beyond that and evolve as you look forward to things. And I look at our artist community, and I think artists are really change makers as well as embrace change. They do it with the product that they create. They're always refining and getting, better at painting, better at sculpting. So I think they often lead the way through profound change, such as what we're experiencing. And I think evolving to meet our new landscape is a key component to being resilient and having ideas for what do we look like in a year. If you'd asked me, I would have said 2020 was the year for Helper. And so I'm looking at 2021 going, that's going to be our year. That's where people will discover us. That's where they will embrace what we have to offer, and really create a great positive place to be. So, I'm really looking out further ahead of the current situation. And I think the community's with me in that, like, they know it will get better. And we just need to focus on what getting better means and how we want to look in the future.
That's great. I love what you said about change makers and leading the way through profound change. Thank you. That was great. Mayor Ney, resilience and culture.
I think resilience is all about knowing what you want and keeping that always front and focused, because you can get definitely detoured by moment to moment things. And as mayors, we all know here in this group that you've got to have that 30,000 foot level view, because you can't get bogged down by the day to day. You've got to know where you're headed and what your community wants. And so I think that's a lot about resilience. And I think a lot about resilience is like playing tennis. You know, if you're not positioned on the ready, you're going to miss that ball that comes at you. So I think being resilient, you got to know who you are, know where you're going, and be ready for that ball to come at you. So, you know, 2020 was like that. And if you're positioned correctly and know what you want, like like Mayor Peterman said, you know, you look now, okay, we'll just relock and load and back to, we'll do this in 2021 then. So, you know, so it's just all about knowing who you are and where you're going.
I'm wondering if anyone has a specific story about how you feel arts and culture has really improved the economy for your community. Anyone want to volunteer? Or I'll just call on you.
I'll volunteer.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm fortunate in that I have quite the community of artists, and these are artists that are nationally known. So I may be in a different position than some of the other rural communities, and having that presence is a wonderful draw to the community. Even today, we have a workshop going on, you know, where artists are coming together to refine landscape painting, that type of thing. So I obviously see them as part of the key to economic diversification, but it can't be the only key. So, you know, we're looking at our natural assets as being a way to draw people to our community, our unique history, what we can leverage with who we've been and where we're going. So it really, you know, there's no one single magic silver bullet. We've got to really have a lot of tools in our tool belt in order to be what I call a sustainable community, which means we're replenishing our human capital, attracting young families into our community, that we're taking care of our natural assets. And just having the artists there is just kind of like an extra thing that we're fortunate to have in our arsenal of economic tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mayor Cox, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, I think that's an important point. You have to diversify your economy. In Boulder, you know, a lot of our economy is based around agriculture and ranching, and then tourism, but we do have a lot of artists that may be part-time artists or full-time artists, and we do have a few places in town that display our artists' work, and it's available for purchase by the tourists that come through. We also have a very generous community of people. A lot of them retired, have moved here. And when you go to their houses, it really is a collection of all of the local art and artists. And so we support each other that way. But a lot of these artists, you know, they work a second job or a third job, as a lot of them have to do. But we feel that the art is a huge part of our economy because any little bit will help those people keep going and be able to stay here, live here, work here. And so we consider art to be huge for us, whether it is through tourism that it's sold or just that it's sold to people that really love art and they live here in our town and they want that local art, which means so much to them because they know the artist, they know the inspiration, and that's important.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Ney, any additions to the?
I was thinking about rural towns and how poverty is a great preserver, and most of our rural towns have gone through a lot of that. And so talking to other people from rural Utah, you know, just look at your town and see what makes you unique because it's there. Yeah. And honor that and make that your center and your focus and your identity and honor that through art and culture because that is really what inspires. When the theater was closed for a year, we had the opportunity to see what happens when it's not in action and when it is in action. And we found through the Department of Historic Preservation, they did a study. Sales taxes went up 29% in our community after the theater reopened. So we have actual data that states the difference between having a center performance area that, well, we do movies too, films and performances, but having that in your community so that your main street's vibrant.
Yeah.
To town and they buy food, they buy gas, they do whatever they, it's just a builder of your community. So that was an eye opener. That was a great source of.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We need to, all mayors need to know that's something that they would really help. We only have a few minutes left, but I'd like to give you each an opportunity to share something that you would like to share with the Rural Summit this year. How about Mayor Cox?
Yeah, I would just say to people that may be watching this, as you travel, stop and take a while in towns, look at their art, support local artists. I think it's very important that people maybe slow down a little bit and enjoy a town, see what their culture and history is, and take a piece of art home that really makes you remember where you were when you got that. And I think that's something that we could all do.
Great. Mayor Ney.
One thing I'd like to say to other mayors that are similarly positioned or other people on councils or in leadership positions, don't do it alone. The best thing about moving something forward is to be involved with other people and make sure that you are the person that helps move their story along too, so that it's so much fun when you get a group of people together and the synergy that you get and the energy that's involved and a vision coming forward. We're just barely doing a G Hill. We're just barely buying the G Hill for us. It's our big G on the hill, and doing trails and everything. And it's just another testimony to me that when people come together, anything's possible. So if you've got an idea, talk to your neighbors, get everybody involved, because it's really a fun process.
Great. Mayor Peterman, last word.
Sure. I would just say I love rural Utah and wish more people could explore and find it. But the reality is rural Utah is where a very small amount of people can make such a huge difference in really transforming a community and moving it forward. So, what a great opportunity, I think, it's just going on all around in rural Utah to be able to embrace what I call thoughtful, meaningful change that can create something great for your community and special for your citizens. So to those mayors, I say, roll up your sleeves. I'm a service leader. If I'm asking for service, I'm actually providing the same service. So, we can't afford to just delegate it in rural Utah. You've got to be all in. And I think that's where the profound changes are coming from.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor Peterman, Mayor Ney, Mayor Cox. You have made this conversation so meaningful for me personally, and I appreciate your time. And I want everyone to know that who is listening to us, that you can contact us. If you have any questions, if you want to know more, we're here. The Utah Division of Arts and Museums is here to help your cities move forward, to help your arts councils, to help your artists in your community. And thank you again, and I hope you'll listen to additional broadcasts that we'll be doing from this symposium. And I just want to thank you. It's great being with you.
Vicki.
Thank you.
For all you do for Utah.
Yep.
Thank you so much for participating in this virtual symposium. We really appreciate your attendance and your willingness to understand details that will help our rural communities. As you continue to take action in your community, Reach out to the experts you spent time listening to. They're here to be mentors and part of your support circle. Good luck, and thank you.